Hello and welcome to a tiny little painting class just to get things going for you creatively. I feel like if we can just play with the paint and not necessarily try to have a big outcome, we can create beautiful things. I just did this little tree. I love painting inside a circle. It's kind of a fun way of creating a container for yourself where you don't feel like you have to fill up the whole page. So we're gonna do one of these together, and we're gonna start with, this is my trusty recommendation. These are, I think, $6.99 Canadian from Michael's. And all I do is fold it in half. For this project, I folded it in half and then in half again, and I got quarters, which is really easy to do. I like the rough edge. You don't have to, you can do it with scissors or whatever else you want. And then I just find something that's handy. I have this huge bottle of gesso here, so I'm gonna use that to make a little circle. And I'm using a very light pencil line. Personally, I like to try to erase the pencil lines afterwards because I like the way that that looks, but I also actually like the way pencil lines look sometimes, with that being said, so whatever works for you. It doesn't have to be perfect. You're not trying to achieve perfection here. I'm using my Beam paints, which I love. I'm not affiliated with her in any way other than friendship, but I do really, really love her product, so I will talk about it if anybody will listen. So the first thing we do is, I use one of these number 6 brushes a lot. I find that they're kind of useful for most projects. I don't really think, unless you're doing a lot of fine detail work, you can get away with using this for most things. And then I'm gonna use this little flat shader. This is also one of my staples. I just find that this comes in handy for everything. We're gonna use a little micron pen. I wish I had a smaller one here right now. I don't, I just have a 0.5. I don't know what happened to my smaller one, but this will do. And then I also really love this. These are all on my website. There's the art in the artist toolkit section. There's a list of all my favorite art supplies. So these are all listed there. So don't feel like you frantically have to write everything down right now. But if you want to, this is the Uniball Signo Broad pen, and it's in white, and I love that for just doing tiny little highlights at the end. So first thing I'm gonna do once I've torn my paper into 4 is I'm just gonna wet, just with water, I'm just gonna wet inside my little, I like to call these a little portal, because it's like a little round, looks like the portal of a ship. Okay, so just, again, we're not being too perfect. Just get that wet, and then I'm gonna go in with a lighter color. I'm gonna use this, I don't know what she calls this. I think maybe she does call it a sap green, but I'm just gonna basically wash that over the whole circle. Wash that over the whole circle so that I have that really nice green kind of rising up. And I'm not trying to be particular about where it goes. I'm just putting a little bit of color down. And then I'm just gonna pick one other color. This whole painting is 2 colors. So with my second color, I'm just gonna go in a little bit and just do a tiny little corner of the sky over here. Not much, not a lot, I don't wanna overdo it. I might even add a little bit of water in there just to create some kind of interesting things. That's it, we're just gonna stop with that for right now. And this is where this flat shader comes in. I'm gonna get my brush pretty wet. It's not dripping, but it's holding a lot of water in there. And I'm picking up paint this is the dark blue again, and I'm just picking up quite a bit of pigment, so it's quite soaked. And I'm just gonna start to go in here, and I'm gonna do a line, and I'm gonna go all the way to the bottom, and I'm gonna do a taller line, and I'm gonna go all the way to the bottom, and I'm just gonna do a variety of lines, and I'm not gonna go all the way over yet because I want to work with these while they're still wet. Now I'm going in and I'm picking up this same green and I'm mixing it with the blue, and I'm kind of feeding it in there. And now I'm just doing these gestures of movement for the what the tree is doing. So we're just getting these kind of beautiful, this is what the boughs of the tree would be doing. And I like to just alternate. So I'm sticking in some of this dark sometimes, making sure that there's, and then I'm gonna go in here and make sure that there's some dark, and we're not really trying. We're just kind of playing with the paint, seeing what happens when I've got quite a bit of water on this page. So what happens when that happens? What happens when it starts to dry out a little bit? I might go over and do one of these trees over here. Again, we're just kind of like what does a tree feel like to you? What would this tree be doing? This tree would be, you know, getting bigger at the bottom. I see I've gone over my circle. That's totally okay. It'd be bigger at the bottom. And I like this kind of windswept. Looks like it's got this sort of windswept look. And I'm going to come in. These are lighter, so these are going to read that they're at the back, this guy on the left. And I'm going to come in and I'm going to do quite a dark tree really close to the foreground here. And I want to add a little bit of green to this while I'm here. And I'm just going to, you know, what would this be doing? This would be, there would be irregularities. There'd be places where it, you know, broke off. Maybe this branch down here broke off and nobody grew back right away. And this guy comes out a little bit further. And there's this a little space there. We're just doing a lot of horizontal, just a lot of horizontal energy. Okay. And just have fun with it. There's no right or wrong here. This isn't like you've got to try to make this look exactly like the trees in your backyard. This is just, we're going with the feeling of what's going on in the forest. Okay, and we're just gonna, these are kind of now, I love this because now in the background back up here, these guys look kind of like they're in the mist. And these guys here look a little bit more defined. And maybe I want to do one more defined tree kind of right at the front here. Maybe I want to do it like that. And I'm just gonna go in, and it's just, maybe this guy's really close to us. And we just want to have him giving us the feeling of what he looks like. That's it. This is just like a moment in the woods. This is just like a moment. Maybe it's like in the moonlight is shining. We don't know. Maybe I want a little bit more, water that out a little bit. That's good. It's going to get loud for a second. I'm going to turn the hairdryer on for 1 second. Now with the hairdryer, you see if it's really wet, as this piece is really wet, you can go in and pick up a little bit of this stuff because it does blow around with the hairdryer, and you kind of don't want necessarily all that blowing paint around because it will dye or it will paint wherever it goes. Yeah, we've got a little gut butt there. That's okay. Okay, hairdryer. That's pretty dry. So if I want, I could go in and get another little guy over here. And maybe, I just want to add maybe somebody here, just a little bit like a tree top that maybe it's like really close to us. And there's like a tree top here. And we're just, it's like it's in the foreground. You don't have to do this, but you can. It's kind of neat. It's kind of like we're just peeking out over this little guy. Okay. That's perfect. And you could add a little bit more, just a little bit to these spines, just a little bit of darkness. You know, don't be afraid to get your finger in there because you don't want lots of like sharp bits of color. We can even pick a little bit of this up. Maybe I put too much down there. We can spread it out a little bit and pick a little bit of it up. Really is like, I'm not trying at all to do this. So I'm really not trying at all to do this. Okay, so we're pretty dry. I just want to hit that again with the hairdryer because it's not a good idea to use your pens and markers over wet paint. They really don't like it. So I can come in here, and for the things that are closer, I can create just a little bit more definition with this tiny little micron marker. I don't want to, again, we're not trying to trace everything. We're not trying to be accurate. We're just trying to create some sort of like darker sections where there might be a little bit more definition, and just a little bit here and there, just a little bit here and there. You can do like a tiny little dash along the spine of the tree or the trunk of the tree. And if you like, you can go in and just give little hints of just a little bit of white. Just a little bit of this white. And in some of the other ones I've done, I've gone in with these Caran d'Ache things, which I just, gosh, I love these things. I use them all the time. And I'm just adding a little bit of white, just again, horizontally. This is all about horizontal. And then I'm just gonna go in with my flat shader and just move it. Just move it. My water's getting a little bit dirty in there, so I'm just muting it out a little bit. But you do still get these little kind of hits of white. You can also do some yellow because a lot of those highlights in these trees would be yellow, and you can get your finger wet, put that on there, move that around a little bit. So, I've just kind of overdone it with that guy. It's okay. It's not a big deal. We're just going for the feeling of things here. And that's it. Yeah, what I would do is I would take my little guy and I would sign it. But actually, I'm happy with this, but if you were uncomfortable with how this kind of smeared out, this little guy up here we can deal with a cute little mat. We can cut a little mat to get that out of there, and you can put it in a little frame, and it's not really a big deal. But if you're wanting to take away the attention from this, you could do something like, I really love these all pens. This is the Mark's All pen by Stabilo. And you can just go around and you can do like a really rough circle. I like to wet the pencil before I do it. I hope you're still on the screen there. See, and that's okay. I'm making a mess, but that's okay. Because we're not trying to do like actual landscapes here. We're just trying to, this is like a moment in time. You peeked through this little window, and you looked out the window and you saw these beautiful trees. And that's it. And that just kind of takes a little bit away from that corner and makes that imperfection. And you could even keep going. Let's say you wanted to let that dry. You could do a stripe you could do like a rainbow stripe all the way around it. I mean, you could do so many different things. And then when you're done, you just do that's it, sign it, and you're done. Really sweet little piece of art, easy to do trees. And the most important thing is you got your paints wet, you moved your brush around, and you're loosening up, because this isn't about creating perfection. This is just about getting involved with your paints and playing with your paints. I hope you enjoyed that. Make sure you're signed up for the newsletter, because every time I do a bigger free class, I'll be sending out a notification about that. So you can find that. There's a link to that in the bio and on the website. And make sure you check out the Artist Toolkit, because that's where I kind of outline all my very favorite supplies. I hope you enjoyed that. Take care.